Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/ChiroBusinessMojo. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Welcome to the Chiro Business Mojo podcast, where we deconstruct the methods, marketing, and mindset of successful business people and chiropractors from around the world. And now your host, Dr. Richard Day.
Dr. Ed Osburn practiced for 14 years, creating a thriving family wellness office with his equally enthusiastic wife, Dr. Karen Osburn. He was forced to give up his dream practice after being diagnosed with severe illness and was looking for a way to bounce back and continue serving the profession he loved. He did so by creating the podcast, The Chiropractic Philanthropist, which quickly became the chiropractic profession's #1 podcast and a massive resource for doctors. Dr. Osburn's mission is to deliver practical and concise know-how to all doctors so that they can experience massive levels of success. Welcome, Dr. Ed Osburn.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
We're pleased to have you. Go ahead and fill in any gaps, anything I might have glossed over or skipped over in your intro.
I think maybe something some people don't know about me is I have created actually other podcasts too. One which is launching this week, and it's the Laptop Lifestyle Podcast, which will have like 5, 6, 7-figure online entrepreneurs who will be featured on that podcast too. So yeah, podcasting is my thing. I love it. Other than that, I'm a dad and a husband. I got a 2-year-old who's almost 3 and a 5-year-old. So
You're a busy man.
I am incredibly busy. Yeah.
Well, good. Let's jump right in. I want to talk to you about the Chiropractic Philanthropist. Why don't you tell us a little more about that?
Well, I can give you a little bit of the backstory. I mean, the Chiropractic Philanthropist was really just an idea. Like, I started listening to podcasts, and I'm like, probably like a lot of other people who consume podcasts, I was just like, I think I could do this. And so I was in a place in my life where I was no longer able to physically be in my practice to help people any longer. And no matter how many times I tried to go back in, I would just get sick again. So I had a chronic illness. Like, I was diagnosed with severe Crohn's disease back in 2009. And through emergencies and surgery and all those different things, it just wasn't working, getting back into my physical practice. But I still wanted to be part of the chiropractic profession. And that is where the Chiropractic Philanthropist came back. It was all about giving back. I wanted to speak to, other successful, well, not even successful, just people who were established in the profession who could help inspire those who felt isolated, who were kind of in the ditch, and going and questioning. And it was really all about helping give back and just connect everyone in our profession, bring us all closer together.
Well, there's a lot of coaches, if you will, out there, a lot of voices in chiropractic. What sets you apart in the Chiropractic Philanthropist apart from the rest?
That's a really great question. And I don't think I have a really good answer for that. I can tell you what people have told me. So some of the feedback I get from messages from chiropractors who listen to the Philanthropist. And I think what I most hear is the value. They know, and so they get value from what what the podcast presents to them and how it inspires them, every time they're like on their way to their office. Or, the other thing I think is I've been told is that, I'm a really great connector. So I just have really learned to ask a question, sit back, shut up, and just let people tell their story. And that wasn't an easy thing for me in the beginning too. So I think that's what kind of sets me aside. I don't coach chiropractors, by the way. Like, I don't like to coach chiropractors in chiropractic. That's just really not my superpower. So I actually coach coaches. So, on how to grow their business, how to connect with others as well.
Well, you talk to a lot of chiropractors, and a lot of them are the superstars, and they come from a wide variety and have a lot of different takes on the profession. But in your opinion, what really separates those who are just knocking it out of the park from those who are maybe struggling, or not where they want to be?
It's a difficult question to answer again, because there's people out there who we believe, like, we see the veneer of they are crushing it in practice. But what I've learned after speaking to 234 chiropractors and interviewing them is that that's not always the true picture. What we see is not always what's going on behind the scenes. So I've actually been able to pull the curtain back and see what's going on. And I know that some of those people who are seeing, and not everyone, by the way, in our profession wants to see 1,000, 1,500 patients, a week, that those practices are not actually, at the end of the day, having a lot of net profits. And there's a ton of effort and stress that can come with seeing that many people too.
Yeah.
So, I have found actually that some of the people who are most content in practice, that are actually crushing it and like have a great lifestyle, and they've designed their practice and their life around their practice, they help and impact so many people, have a really great, healthy practice. So, maybe they're seeing 300-400 visits, and they are so extremely lean. They understand the business of chiropractic and what that major number that you should be measuring, which is net profits at the end of the day.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. In my experience in talking with folks and just friends who are chiropractors, you can't, it's true of any business. You can't look at the gross. You've got to look at the net. And there are some people with a lot of overhead. And at the end of the day, they are working a lot harder than they are smart. But you wouldn't know it from the outside, from the big numbers.
Yes. And I think that a lot of chiropractors aspire to be those people when really they should be just, and I shouldn't say they should be, but they should consider just becoming better business people, looking at the business of chiropractic.
So we talked about the common area of what we're seeing of sort of, not running a lean practice. Is there anything else you're seeing out there that's getting in the way of people being successful?
I think there's, certainly a lot of missed components of marketing. Like chiropractors are missing a lot of opportunities when it comes to, or they're doing it improperly. Like they're making, I always call it premature offers. Like they're offering, maybe they have some really good content. For example, they're putting posts consistently out there on Facebook. They're getting a little bit of engagement, but then they're turning around and they're actually putting on, their phone number, or they're doing something that actually just can actually switch off the flow of people into their practice. So I would say that there's missed opportunities in social media. There's missed opportunities in how chiropractors are marketing today, that they're just not looking at, that could be really funneling. And I just use that word, funneling more people and attracting more people into their practice so they can actually impact more lives.
So when a chiropractor is measuring their performance, are there certain key performance indicators that you place higher value on than others?
It always comes back to at the end of the day, are you actually, I always ask there's always two major questions I ask clients. And again, I'm kind of removed now from practice because I'm not in there anymore. Mm-hmm. So the two things I ask are, what do you want? So what do you want your life to actually look like? And how do you design your business to provide that lifestyle that you want? And the other question is, are you actually making money at the end of the day? So those are the two major factors that I always ask, like questions I give clients. And then we basically, once we answer those questions, we can start to reverse engineer, how to actually achieve those targets and results.
Gotcha. But you're not looking at, you need to see 10 patients per day or 20 patients a day, or are you working backwards from where they say they want to be to what that's going to look like on a day-to-day basis?
I think it's more important to go, look, what do you want in your life? Like, so for me, it was important that I be here to connect with my two sons, when they wake up in the morning, to be here to be able to put them to bed at night. And so and also to be able to take care of my own health, my physical health. So I could show up at 11 out of 10 for clients, or, when I was in practice, for patients. Mm-hmm. So I would design my business around that. And then, so once I had that blueprint, right, then I would also look at, okay, at the end of the month, how much is it that I need to actually generate in my practice? Like, what is the number, the dollar sign mm-hmm. that I need to actually, create at the end of the month that would give me and provide me the lifestyle that I would be happy with? I call it a money map, and I teach this to clients too, is basically at the end of the, you look at, okay, what is your reoccurring income each week? Mm-hmm. Put that number at the end of the week. What is the gap between that number, the total at the end of the month, and the number of reoccurring income. So you know exactly what it is, that target that you need to take out for the month. Then I go, okay, well, what do I need to do to actually obtain that additional number, like to bring that new income in? And often when we talk about new income, when we're in our practice, our brick and mortar, we're talking really about new patient attraction, aren't we? So, and conversion. So, then I would just go look, and hopefully everyone here knows exactly what the value of a new patient, lifetime value of a new patient is. Mm-hmm. And, so then I was really just like, what do I need to do? How many people do I need to ask for referrals? How many people do I need to connect with? What events do I need to create to get that actual number at the end of the month? And that's really how I ran my business, month by month. And then, of course, by the end of the year too. So I would break it down from 12 months to 6 months to 90 days. And then I would go to weekly, and then I would go to, just targets like each month, each week, and just take them out like a sniper.
Well, let's talk a little bit about social media. I know we talked about that a little already. It seems like there's a new social media platform coming along every day. But Facebook, of course, has been around a while. There's Twitter, Instagram. What are some of the things that chiropractors should be doing, if they aren't doing, to engage their clientele through social media?
I think, engagement's important, but I think the first question is, where are your ideal patients? Where are your ideal clients hanging out? So I'm not going to Snapchat, by the way. Like, I don't use Snapchat, and maybe I will at some point. I just know there's not a lot of chiropractors who are basically the people who are consuming my content and, becoming clients with me. I don't do that because it's basically time and effort in a space where it's a younger demographic. Mm-hmm. So I would say, know who your ideal patient is. Be very specific on that avatar. And then from there, you can use that as a litmus to go, okay, now where does that person hang out? And I would suggest that for most of us, it's going to be Facebook and it's going to be LinkedIn would be another one. Instagram, yes and no. I mean, it's inexpensive. But those would be the three areas I would be focusing in. And I would also want to say that, and those have been around for a while. And I would say also that, when you are posting, say to Facebook, to go back to your question, when you're posting to Facebook, I would be looking at doing things such as video, which gets a much higher engagement than, say, doing like a picture, a post, or a meme, or any of those types of things.
Well, how do you go about creating a brand, or how would you recommend a chiropractor go about creating a brand, or should they?
Now, do you mean a brand for their office then specifically?
Yeah, a brand for their office, a logo, a look and feel. I've come across a lot of chiropractors. I think we all have in our experience, and the spine seems to be part of it. There's a lot of different takes on it. My question is more centered around, I've heard people be advised, hey, it doesn't matter. Coke and Pepsi are a big deal. They have international, a Nike appeal, but you're just in your local town and it's not so big. I personally disagree with that. I think we should take steps to really establish a look and feel and create a patient experience for our end user, which is the patients. What is your opinion of the best way we should go about that?
Or
do you agree with that?
I do agree with it. I mean, I think your brand is a reflection of you. And it can be a reflection of your service, right? I mean, it's something it's one of those first things that people will see. So let's say, for example, if you have your logo or branding on your website, which I hope everyone does, the bounce rate. So when someone goes into your website and out is like 0.7 seconds. Like, you have very little time to engage. And again, in this world of distraction that we have, I mean, just going to Facebook for distraction these days. Right. And so you got to capture attention right away. So I would consider colors. You can go online. You can actually do some research on the psychology of different colors, of, what colors inspire trust, what colors inspire, things like positivity and inspiration. And then just make it true to your personality. I call it marketing your personality. So, a lot of my branding, for example, in my business, my online business, it's cooler colors. I never use more than, say, 3 different colors that are cohesive together. And they're always ones that inspire trust, when it comes to, and which I would recommend a lot of chiropractors do. And I always test my brand. So I test and I validate. So like if I ever want to launch something new, like even down to a webinar, I always put it out there for people to give me feedback. So if you have people out there that can help you and go, hey, which do you prefer? Is it this one or that one? Which do you like and why? Ask questions. And I think that's the best way to get a brand, to build your brand. And then also one last tip is don't rush the process. So when you pick something, check it, put it on the back burner for a week, come back to it, look at it again, and it'll, you'll eventually have a solid idea as to which one is the right one.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, I think the last thing you want to do is get excited about something and then, get your letterhead and sign made. And 10 years later, you've lived with something you really weren't crazy about. Definitely take some time.
Yeah.
Well, this podcast is all about providing some actionable content for our listeners. So if you were a new doc, what single piece of advice or some action steps would you tell that person to focus on?
I would start a podcast. Yeah. Like that might be surprising to hear. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, if we're really talking, so I'm not going to say, hey, work on your scripts or on your conversions. I mean, it's really going to be all about new patient attraction. I mean, certainly all of those different avenues of those multiple pillars of marketing, like go out and do screenings, go out and do talks. Mm-hmm. Those are practice builders. Ask for referrals on a consistent basis. I always every day I would ask for 3 referrals. Mm-hmm. Build out your marketing calendar, all those things that we talk about and every other practice management coach is going to tell you. But the one thing they're not going to tell you is to actually create a podcast. So imagine this, listener, if you're a new doc and you start a podcast and it's local to your community. So it's specific to your community. And now you have a gym down the street with a, local celebrity fitness trainer or owner, and you want to build a relationship. It's an accolade to go and actually ask them, hey, look, I have this podcast. I would love to interview you for this podcast. Would you be open to that? And all of a sudden, what we find is that actually opens doors. So having a podcast is actually one of the best network tools and strategies that you can have right now today. And the reason I know this is because we've seen case studies of chiropractors who are doing this. I've seen a new doctor who's not only used that exact same example, gone in, hey, can I interview you for my podcast? To the next thing is they're paying him to actually go in every other week and teach lectures to speak in that gym, in that facility, to now where he's actually got an office, a space in that gym. And they're giving him a steady stream of referrals. He's been, even that doc been asked to be a keynote speaker now at a local conference that's going to be in the area. I mean, those are things like, again, those accolades, those are things that can take some chiropractors a long time to build. But again, imagine yourself asking, interviewing the local pediatrician, interviewing pretty much, the chef. Like, I mean, it could be anyone, in your local community, and it's better than any chamber of commerce or BNI group.
Wow. That's great advice. Now, would you give that, obviously, if you've been in practice a while, you should probably do the same thing. Is there anything else an experienced doc should maybe think about adding to the mix?
Yeah, I would just do the same thing. And, because I know that most docs aren't podcasting.
Yeah.
And I mean, for experienced docs, it's really just the same. It's the same thing. I want to make a really cool point here for experienced docs as well. Because some docs are going to be already established as experts and authorities in their community. But having a podcast is just another step up. It's called a trust trigger. It's another step up of like bringing again or adding to your expertise and your authority and lending more trust to what you're doing. I mean, oh man, there's so many positive aspects to podcasting. I can't even tell you, like being in the back pocket of your patient is incredibly valuable.
Yeah. I
mean, as a referral source, as a new patient education tool, obviously I'm really big on podcasting. I think if you are in your town today, doc, and you don't have you're not the doc with the podcast in town, then someone else will be at some point. It's like not having a website now.
Now, I think I did on your website, you provide some instructions on how to get going and start a podcast.
On the Chiropractic Philanthropist, I have a free training. It's solid, man. I mean, if you follow that training, and again, it's completely free, step by step, it'll take you from step 1 to step 10 on how to get a podcast up and launched, and even into like in iTunes and on Stitcher, show you even how to, harness the SEO, the search engine optimization of that, and plant it onto your website. But I mean, you can go to YouTube now these days and pretty much Google everything. The major difference is I am a chiropractor, so I have a little bit more of a unique understanding of what chiropractors are looking for as an end result of a podcast.
Well, what's one thing that's really exciting you today, either in this business? You mentioned the other podcast. Tell us about that.
The Laptop Lifestyle podcast?
Yeah.
Well, this is a podcast that really, the purpose and why I created it, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I created it to support chiropractors who were looking at going into like creating online businesses. Mm-hmm. And I call it filling the gap. So a lot of chiropractors are out there today. I'm not talking about the young ones who are building their practice, because this may not be a fit for them. But the ones who are crushing it in practice, but they want to have this, it's the same story I hear over and over again, which is they want more time, more freedom. Again, and it's really, again, that chiropractors, we're often the catalyzing agent in our practice. Like, I mean, if we're not there, right, there's a loss of revenue. Right. Like if we're not adjusting. So what we're doing now is like I have over 70 chiropractors in a program called the Chiropractors Laptop Lifestyle. And these are all chiropractors who are launching profitable online businesses and, reaping the rewards and benefits of having, money coming in or flowing in and smoothing out their income each month so that they can step away and not have to be concerned about, hey, doing the new patient hustle. Where's the next new? So the Laptop Lifestyle podcast is all about supporting these people in this program. However, it's going to be bigger than that. I can see it. I mean, we have people like Sean Stevenson, Marcy Locke, Grant Cardone has been on this podcast, and it'll be launching in the next, hopefully the next 2 days, in the next 48 hours from when we're talking right today.
That's exciting. I'll definitely be checking that out. Well, let's switch gears. We're running towards the end of the interview here, and let's talk about the bigger picture, life and success. You mentioned your illness. Is that the biggest setback you've had that you've overcome?
Yes and no. I mean, I think the biggest setbacks I've had have always been almost a complete failure of and loss of pretty much everything I own, like almost to the point of bankruptcy. And I've done that twice. I've had that occur twice in my 13 years in practice. One was due to basically just not really knowing when I came out of, early on, when I came out of chiropractic college, actually thinking I knew everything and not knowing anything. Mm-hmm. And the second time was when I actually lost my health. So I've had to rebuild, businesses to six-figure businesses, not just one time, but 2 times. And that resistance is what's really, really part of the secret to getting better, to getting smarter in business too, doing things differently. But, I would say that's really, what's happened for me over the last, the struggles that I've been through in the last while.
What or who do you think of when you think of the word success? And why?
Man, that's a great question. Because I've seen behind the curtain. I've got a really great Rolodex now, and the people I know who we see, and who are that we go and we learn from. Now, I'm not just talking about chiropractors. They're not completely congruent, and I don't think success always comes down to how much money you have in your bank account anymore. Because I've seen that doesn't really matter. I would say that, when it comes to success, I think of, believe it or not, I think of Grant Cardone. I really like Grant, and I love his messaging. I always follow him. I love his books. I think when I know that he's there for his kids, his family. I know he puts family first. I know he's very spiritual. I just interviewed him, and he talked about the spiritual aspect of business and money, which surprised the heck out of me. So when I think of success, I think of Grant.
Well, you mentioned his books. Do you have a favorite book you recommend, maybe of his or someone else's?
Instead, you know what? I'm going to, if it's okay, I would love to give you, like I'm a podcaster, but I'm also a consumer of podcasts. So I would love to give you like a podcast. I'm loving Ask Gary V, the Ask Gary V show. I think every day he drops, knowledge for chiropractors, like people who are in business. And that's chiropractors as well.
Is this Gary Vaynerchuk?
Gary Vaynerchuk. Yeah.
What's the best business advice you've ever received?
You are your client. Yeah. You are your client.
I love
so
that.
Or you are your patient.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, my wife and I say, and we didn't invent this, but treat others the way you want to be treated. And I think about a fantastic experience I've had as a customer, whether it's a restaurant I've eaten at, or, a car dealership where I bought a car, and all of those things where they really succeeded at every point. I try to put myself in the patient's shoes and try to create that same patient experience on the other end. So that's fabulous. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
What is the worst advice you've ever received? Business advice.
Yeah, I laugh when I think of it. Is I was told once by a practice management coach to cancel my disability because chiropractors don't get sick.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, that's a good one there. I wonder where
I didn't take that advice. Thank goodness.
Good. Well, look, I want to thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Osburn. What is the best way for people to find you and to find out more about what you do?
You know what? You can actually find me at thechiropracticphilanthropist.com. And there's that free training. You can jump in on that if you'd like to, or for any of the listeners. If you want to check out the new podcast, which is launching, and learn from these 6, 7, 8-figure online entrepreneurs for inspiration, it's the laptoplifestylepodcast.com.
Got it. I will definitely be checking that out, and those will be in the show notes for sure. Thanks once again for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. Hey, this is Dr. Day. I hope you are enjoying the show. If you are, please do us a favor and jump on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Chiro Business Mojo podcast at www.chirobusinessmojo.com.